For the craft night from the Makery program that we hosted in November 2020, we put together craft kits to make a Thanksgiving-themed door wreath design. For patrons who are able to pick up the kit, everything came pre-cut and ready to assemble. If you weren't able to get the kit, or if you're just interested in how to make the design, this tutorial will show you how to prepare your design for the Silhouette Studio program to use the Silhouette Cameo machine for cutting. For our project, we used 2mm chipboard, which can be cut with the Silhouette Cameo machine. However, it can take about an hour, sometimes even more, to make the cut. Silhouette Studio is free to download, and you can also create a Silhouette account to store your designs to the cloud. However, we find that it's easier to store your designs onto a flash drive and bring it into the Makery. Once you've opened up your Silhouette Studio program, you're ready to design. For our project, we used a circle as the frame for our door wreath. So on the left panel, there's different tools to use, and one of them is a drawing tool, and you want to choose the draw the ellipse option. This will give you a little teeny tiny pointer cursor, and so what you want to do is click and drag to make some sort of circle or oval. You don't need to worry about it being a perfect circle. We're going to fix that in just a moment. I do want to point out that the outline is pink. Anytime you see a pink outline, that's where the machine's going to cut. We're then going to switch back to our select tool, and we're going to click on your oval or circle, and it should give you your dimensions. You should also find your dimensions up at the top next to the arrow icon. There should be a width and a height. Now for the chipboard that we used, it was 11 by 11 inches. You never want to cut all the way to the edge. You always want to leave some space. So we recommend changing the circle to 10.5 by 10.5. And that will make it a perfect circle, 10.5 inches by diameter. You will notice that my circle is coming off my cut mat here. So I'm just going to click and drag it to move it onto the cut mat. And then this is our outer circle. We now need to make an inner circle. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste the circle. So with the circle selected, I'm going to come up. There's options for cut, copy, and paste. I'm going to choose copy and then paste. And then our inner circle needs to be smaller than our outer circle. Now we created our design to have a 1/2 inch margin all the way around. So if there's a 1/2 inch on the left side and a 1/2 inch on the right side, that means that our inner circle needs to be 9.5 inches. You'll notice that our two circles are not centered to each other, so the next step is to align them. To do this, we need to select both circles. So I'm going to click and drag, and when I click and drag, it creates this dotted line square or rectangle. I need to make it big enough so it's overlapping both outlines for the circle. And when I let go, you'll notice that both circles have squares around them. Once these circles are selected, you can align your circles so they're centered. The way you can do this is you can go to your Align panel. It's called the Transform panel, and you can choose Center. We now have the frame for our door wreath. It's now time to add the text. So we're going to come to the left menu here, and we're going to choose the text icon, and we're just going to click anywhere, and it's going to open up the cursor, and we're going to start typing. For our design, we used the phrase "give thanks." I recommend having one text box for the word "give," and then opening another text box for the word "thanks." The purpose for this is so that way we can click and drag and move these freely so we can place them wherever we want. You will notice that the text is a sans font, so the letters aren't connected, and that the font is still pretty small. So what I'm going to do is change the font. I'm going to double click on the word, and I'm going to select the text. And up at the top, you should see an A icon, and it usually defaults to Arial font. If you use the drop-down arrow, you will get a menu to choose the fonts. And we ended up using a script font called Script MT Bold. You want to make sure that you're using a script font with thick lettering. The thicker the better. If your letters are too thin or flimsy, they will break when you go to cut or decorate your door wreath. And I'm going to do the same thing for the word thanks. And now both of my text boxes are set for the script MT bold font. You will notice that the font size is still really small. So what we're going to do is enlarge the letters or the words. I recommend doing this with the word thanks first. Since it's the bigger word of the two, it's going to fill up more space. You want to click one of the white icons, white squares in the corners. This will allow you to resize proportionately. And basically you would just want to keep clicking and dragging until it starts to fill your door wreath a little better. And what I recommend doing is going up to the font size option. And so you'll see that the font that we ended up at is 272.85. I'm going to go ahead and actually round that down to 270 and hit enter. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to go to the word give, and now I'm just going to adjust the font size to 270 so it matches. And this way both words are the exact same font size. Now we're not done yet. If we zoom in, you'll notice that where the letters overlap, there's pink lines. Again, anywhere you see pink lines, the machine's going to cut. So right now, it's going to cut all the letters individually, which is not what we want. To fix this, we're going to click on the word, and we want to open up the Modify panel. The Modify panel is found on the right side. It is the icon with the rectangle and the circle overlapping. And we want to use a feature called Weld. Weld is going to fuse those overlapping lines together. So I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to do the same thing for the word give. I'm going to go ahead and weld it. I'm going to select and weld. And that has fused the overlapping lines for the letters, but it also disconnected the I from the word. So you want to make sure that you group the I and the rest of the word give together so it's back to being one item. We're almost done. The last step is to place the word inside of around our door frame so it's connected to the frame. And we want to make sure that it's connected at the G and the E, but that also the I is connected so we don't lose the I. In our case, we actually rotated this a little bit just so that way it was placed in a way that made it a little easier for us to put the G and the E overlapping along with the I. And then we're going to do the same thing for the word thanks. We're going to rotate it so it's about the same rotation as the word give. And we want to move it so that way the T and the S are connected to the circle, and that we want the G and the H to overlap, but we don't want them to overlap too much. So that looks good to me. So the last step is to fuse the lines, because again, where you see the overlapping pink lines, it's going to cut. So we're gonna select the word give in the inner circle at the same time. And instead of weld, we're gonna use a feature called subtract. And you'll see now that the overlining lines are fused together. It also separated some of the inside parts of the letters, so we're going to fix those in a second. But before we do that, we're going to subtract the word thanks from this inner circle as well. So with the circle selected and the word thanks selected, we're going to subtract. And now you should see that all of the words and circles are fused together. So the very last step, we're going to click and drag to select everything and group it together. And that is how you prepare your design. The last thing you want to do is go to File, Save As, and you can save to the Silhouette cloud library, but it works better if you save to hard drive. And you want to choose where you want to save it to like a flash drive or to your computer. Give it a file name. And then it has to be the Silhouette Studio V3 file type. That's the file type compatible with the Silhouette Cameo. Once you save it to your flash drive, you're ready to give us a call or send us an email, and we can help you book your Makery reservation to use the equipment. And again, just keep in mind that with the Silhouette Cameo, it will take about an hour to make your cut. And that is how you prepare your design.